Hey friends, and welcome back. Today I wanted to share with you how I etch glasses without wasting vinyl for making a stencil. So I just have this glass here that is from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be using this Armour Etch. I bought this Armour Etch like 5 years ago and I'm still using the same bottle, so it definitely was worth it. I am just going to take some blue painter's tape and tape a spot off on my mat. I am using one of my older mats, so it's not very sticky. And then I'm going to design what I want on my glass in my Silhouette studio. So I made a 3x3 square and just am going to design inside of that because I know that's the size that's going to look best on my glass. So I wrote because and kids, and I'm just trying to figure out what fonts that I like, and I end up using Magnolia Sky and DK Jambo, and I go back and stretch out my because just a little bit to fill in that space, and I'm going to offset it as well because it's such a thin font. So I just go to offset and I am offsetting it by 0.01, which is such a tiny amount, but it makes those thin lines just a little bit bigger. So I don't need that because, and then I just color this one in because I'm going to use the thicker one. Then I'm going to slide my whole design over to the left where I put that painter's tape on my mat. And I am just using the vinyl settings to cut this. I actually bumped my blade up to a 2, but I find that I have to do that even when I cut vinyl too, so regular vinyl settings may work perfectly fine without bumping it up to a 2. I just know that my blade or my machine is a little bit picky, and whenever I cut something sticky, I just wipe my blade off with an alcohol wipe. And I'm going to wipe my glass off with an alcohol wipe too, just so it's clean while I'm working. And then I'm just going to weed out this painter's tape just like I was weeding vinyl. And the only problem that I had was just that little bit that I overlaid it to combine the two together. So there's just a little gap, and the only problem was that I just had to make sure I pulled both layers of the tape up. So it wasn't really even that big of a problem. I just had to make sure to get both of those layers. And once I have it all weeded out, I'm just going to apply it to my glass, just like I'm applying a vinyl stencil, only I'm not wasting any vinyl. Hooray! Since this is just painter's tape, it obviously doesn't have a carrier sheet to help pick everything up, but that's fine if I'm going to be saving that vinyl that I would be using for this project. I'm just lining this up on my mug the best I can. I always find that putting it flat and eyeballing it that way helps me get it on the straightest. I also have filled my wine glasses with water, and then that gives me a nice straight line to follow when I'm putting on a stencil. And you just want to make sure that you are pushing this painter's tape down as best as you can. So I worked from the bottom to the top, and I'm pushing down those because letters, and I'm going to make sure that all those tiny little pieces are pressed down really nicely, and then I'm going to use my tweezers to carry over all of those teeny tiny insides that are left over on my mat. You really want to make sure that there are no bubbles around the letters or anything that is lifting inside of your letters, because the Armour Etch will leak under any spot it can get a hold of. So you really want to press stuff down. So you can see I'm kind of like bending it, and there's lots of kind of creases in my tape because I really want to make sure that I'm getting all those bubbles pressed down. There's a little bubble right there on the S, and I'm just pressing really hard to get the tape to stick down and not have that bubble there, so no Armour Etch can go underneath of it. And now I'm all ready to apply this Armour Etch. So I put on a glove and I'm shaking it up really, really well. And I'm going to use a Q-tip to layer my Armour Etch on top of where my letters are. I try to be kind of conscious of where I'm placing it because you don't really want to seep it through anywhere, so I'm just like filling in the spots. I'm basically like coloring with it. So I'm not necessarily like slapping it all over. I'm going in where I see the glass. You also want to be really careful where those spots are, like the insides of your E's or the insides of your A's, because if you press hard and you're really rubbing your Q-tip around, you can move those centers out. So just gently place a thick-ish layer of Armour Etch inside of those letters as best you can. Again, I'm being really careful with those inside letter pieces, making sure I'm not pushing them around at all. They stick fairly well, so it's not too big of a problem, just be extra careful. And then I'm just throwing that Q-tip away inside my glove because nobody wants to touch this stuff. And I sit the whole thing in my sink for 30 whole minutes. I sit it there for 30 minutes. And then when 30 minutes is all past, I use a different Q-tip to scrape off as much of the Armour Etch as I can, and you can just put this right back in the bottle and it will totally work again. So again, I've had this Armour Etch as long as I've had my Silhouette, and it's probably about 5 years old, and I have used it for so many projects. So scoop that stuff back up and put it back in the bottle. And the last thing you have to do is just rinse this Armour Etch off. So I am just cleaning it off and pulling the tape off at the same time. And you can see that it's basically good. There we go. Because kids, I love this class. I'm so excited. It's so easy, and I love that I can make these without wasting any of my vinyl. Thanks so much for watching, guys. As always, you can find more from us here. Make sure you subscribe so you can follow all of our adventures. Give it a big thumbs up and let me know down in the comments, what would your wine glass or coffee mug, what would it say? Bye, guys.